Well, yes, we can confirm that the paperwork was delivered today before end of business around 5 o'clock in Pretoria, yes.
What exactly have you delivered, Mr. Phasiwe?
Well, among other things, the contentious issue was around the National Treasury had wanted a sort of a computerized transaction of all the invoices related to the coal contract. So we have delivered that document and others in between.
Why have you been unable to provide it earlier?
Well, we had communicated to the National Treasury that, and this one, Jeremy, is also part of the recommendations from the National Treasury. They had issued a 172-page report, which, among others, had said that whatever responses we're going to give on that document, those responses have to be approved by the board. So we then wrote back to the Treasury saying that the board, our Eskom board, is going to meet around the middle of September, and therefore we will be able to submit all the information that they had requested, including the signed document by the board before the end of September. So that's why we have taken a bit of time, because we are waiting for the board to have a sitting, which is a scheduled meeting, which is going to happen within the middle of this month. But this morning, as you correctly mentioned, the Minister of Public Enterprises had instructed Eskom to submit this information, despite the fact that the board has not seen it. But what has happened, though, in the interim is that the tender committee board had seen the information, had actually deliberated on it before. So I think that part of the few people within the board who have seen it will suffice. And then when the board, all the board members meet within the middle of the next month, then obviously they will be given the information that has been now sent to the Treasury.
Mr. Phasiwe, the general sense, though, is that if Minister Lynn Brown had not applied pressure to Eskom, you'd still be sitting on that paperwork. Is that true?
Well, we would possibly still be sitting on that paperwork, because we had asked for extension from the Treasury for us to wait for the board meeting. As per their recommendation, they had given us that extension so that we can submit the information by the end of September.
That's not Treasury's view, though, Mr. Phasiwe. Treasury accusing you last night of blocking access to the report, restricting information, and in fact a senior representative from Treasury, Kenneth Brown, is the Chief Procurement Officer on this program, accusing your organization of lying. How do you respond to that?
Well, Jeremy, in terms of whether someone is lying or not, all we know for sure that we can share with the general public is that on the 31st of July last year, the National Treasury had requested information from Eskom about its coal contract. We submitted it in 3 tranches. So the first one was the 31st of August, the next tranche was around September, and then another tranche was in November. And then on the 11th or 12th of April this year, we then received a report based on the information that we had sent to the Treasury. That 172-page report was based on our information, and then they wanted us to react on the, I would say, the preliminary investigations that they had done on our coal contracts. And it was in that context where they had said that the responses that we are going to give them, they have to be approved by the board, and we then indicated to them that the board will be sitting in September, and then we will be able to submit all the information, including this historical transaction, the computerized version. We should send it out before the end of
Mr. Phasiwe, given the urgency of the matter, surely it would have behooved Eskom to call an emergency board meeting.
Well, a decision that was taken, this decision to wait until the end of September was, I would say, partly shared by with the National Treasury, because we had communicated to them that the deadline they had given us, which is the end of April, was not going to work for us, because the board would not have said by then. We then asked for extension, which was granted, which is the 30th of September.
Do you believe Treasury is being unreasonable?
Well, we do not necessarily believe that they were being unreasonable, because our chairman had received a letter from the Minister of Finance basically confirming that his team, the team from Treasury, had said to him that they had communicated with Eskom, and Eskom was going to submit the information at a later stage.
The subtext, Mr. Phasiwe, of all of this is that your Chief Executive Officer, Brian Molefe, is protecting the supplier Tegeta, which is owned by the Guptas. In other words, there's an element here of state capture.
Well, I'm not sure about state capture, Jeremy. And what many people do not know, and some possibly choose not to know, is that on the 17th of August, which is about 2 weeks ago, Eskom received a letter from the National Treasury basically giving us permission to extend the contract for the supply of coal for our power station called Komati. And that power station is, the mine called Goranfontein is owned by Tegeta. And for the National Treasury to give us permission to extend the contract essentially means that they did not find any wrongdoing on our part in terms of that specific contract.
In terms of the money that was spent, this figure that's being bandied around of 134 million rand, which has allegedly been spent on coal that was substandard, is that true?
Well, you know, Jeremy, there was an investigation, and at least the story written by Business Day today has some credence. What that story says, which is basically the truth. We had done investigations on the or tests on the coal quality that was sent through to us. We then felt that we needed a second opinion. We then sent the very same coal to the South African Bureau of Standards. They did their test, and then they confirmed what we had found out, which was that the quality was meeting our specifications, and therefore we were able to continue with it. There were some samples, though, which were not meeting our specifications, but they were not bought, because you see, you cannot buy something that you are not going to use, or as the Sunday Times calls it, you cannot buy a dart. So it will be wasteful expenditure, and therefore what the coal that did not meet our specification was not bought. What was bought was what was meeting our specifications.
Do you feel prejudiced, that is Eskom, with only a few members of the board having seen this paperwork that you've been delivered tonight?
No, it's not being prejudiced, because the few tender committee members who have seen it basically fall within or deal with the procurement issues, and therefore they will be able to explain their position to the full committee once they meet. I'm sure that there's nothing untoward there.
Thank you very much indeed, Eskom spokesperson Khulu Phasiwe.